to the Council of Environmental Deans and Directors, online education and open education resources. I'm the Associate Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences at Southern New Hampshire University in Manchester, New Hampshire. I just want to go through a few of the guidelines that we're going to use for the webinar series. All done already, please call using your computer. Someone should be muted except for the presenter and myself as the moderator. And if you could submit questions through the WebEx chat box and address everyone. And these questions can be submitted anytime during the presentation. However, we'll be addressing them at the end of the presentation. And lastly, please note that the webinar is being recorded. I'll go through a few basic terminology we'll be using in this webinar and other webinars. And first of all, the LMS, you may hear the acronym for the Learning Management System, perhaps the best known of Blackboard. In terms such as fully online, which is 75% or greater of content delivered online. So that could be a program or it could be a course. And the hybrid blended to 25 to 74% of content delivered online. And again, program or course. And another term that you may hear is MOOC or MOOCs, Mass Open Online Courses. The reasons that we wanted to put this webinar series together was the fact that enrollment has increased in the last 10 years by an order of magnitude with digit growth fast. And it's also projected that this growth has slowed down a little, but nonetheless continue. And these two slides are from CEDD Ventures, a market research firm in Boston. I'm happy to introduce today's speaker, Lambert, who is the Associate Provost of Colorado State University OnlinePlus, Division of Continuing Ed.
All right. John, are people hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, slide up correctly.
Don't see your slide.
You're sharing the wrong monitor. You're probably looking at my email then.
Right.
Yeah, and you never know which. All right, now the right one?
Yeah. There we go.
The display version now?
Yep, we're looking at your first slide.
I'm going to try to make this so I can see participants and see chat as I go. Does that show up on your screen? Off. Right now, right? Oh, buddy. I'm assuming that if you can't hear me, you will say something in the chat box. And appreciate everybody coming and listening to the story about what Colorado State University has been doing. Start by now it's switching for me. Start by just giving you a touch of background so you have context of who we are and where we came from and the role I play in this. I'm an entrepreneur most of my life. mostly big startups all over the world for capitalists and large companies. Have a career in academia, but over the course of 3 decades, I helped launch 4 companies in 12 countries, 35 of which are still going and employ about 400,000 people today. So I've been involved in lots of large-scale change management and startup activities, and came to education because I thought it was one of the most interesting intersections going on between rapidly changing market needs, rapidly changing technology, and rapidly changing public policy. And that's the niche I like to play in. I want to stay in Colorado, and I knew the folks at Colorado State University. So I came to CSU. We're 27,000 students, about 21,000 of those undergrad, 6,000 graduate, and a huge research school. We're the largest in the country without a medical school, doing about 340 million of research. In addition to the 27,000 students we have on campus, we've got about another 10,000 distance students. We made a decision that our distance offering would be consistent with the land grant mission from our flagship campus. And it's a theme you're going to be wound through my entire presentation. Our mission is summed up by saying we are an innovation engine for the university, and we give them increased cash and increased student success through our role as access for a whole lot of students to our programs. So, background of where we come from. I expect a number of you who have looked at Colorado State and what we're doing also run into Colorado State Global Campus. I'm one of the founders of Global Campus, and I was CEO there through 2009. And if people want to say in chat, and I'll talk more about what difference is between our Global Campus and our division of continuing ed OnlinePlus, I will watch for that and comment on it more if you're curious as to why we have 2. And I'm going to try to go through all these slides in a little less than 30 minutes, so we have time for Q&A. Purpose is to take our Colorado State University program services and experiences to students anywhere. And we land grant, we see this as our expanded engagement and access mission in the internet world. And so what we're going to be literally is our Fort Collins Research Campus extended to a distance. And I do that very purposefully because that's in contrast to our global campus with a standardized curriculum, master teacher model, teaches programs at very large scale, intended to be 1,000 or more students in each program over time. And in contrast to what Arizona State University and some others are doing with Pearland, which is also the teacher type model. So by definition, we're rich programs as opposed to mass market programs. Vision around growth is to grow responsibly with students first. And when we students, we mean accomplishing the student's goal. And the unit is specifically responsible for satisfying students' goals and seeing if you can make money doing it. And we put some of the exact opposite of the big guy that everybody points to of Phoenix, whose goal is to make money for investors while educating students well. Widely recognized for being really good at this, degree completion and graduate degrees. About 80% of our course enrollments are graduate degrees. We also have a large number of certificates and a small number of professional certificates. And then the kicker on is because we're cash funded and because we control our cash, we have permission to be an innovator for the Academy overall. And recently, our president, Tony Frank, put a new set of graduation rate goals that are about 20 points higher than our historical averages. One of the things we think will play a role in achieving that is making our online programs much more available on Mix as well. Our mission is to create success. We have high demand programs that are rare. I don't know how many of you have online programs, but I doubt any of you have an online program. It's a Master's of Science in Statistics. And we do programs like that where we have research expertise and teaching expertise, and they're defined for professionals who can't come to campus. We're bent on building campus knowledge of the new technology-based learning tools and teaching methodologies. So our primary input to campus as they want to do on-campus online and on-campus hybrid, because we've been doing those for a long time. To do that, one of the tools we have is an 8-person active mastery online development team. And we basically put that development team inside what's called the Institute for Learning and Teaching on the main campus, headed by a full professor, because one of the knowledge base of online learning technology tools and teaching methods to be part of the academic academy will remain a business partner to the academic academy. Do a lot of innovation work on campus in terms of use of our capital. So we ones that pay to build out classrooms, it be lecture capture or distant two-way real-time synchronous. Also funded putting gigabit speeds into all the buildings we use in our programs so that we're sure we can have synchronous access to the faculty for distant students. And the other thing we've done, I think is a little unique compared to most of us, is we get our money and then go on and quantify the costs we call everywhere on our campus, and line item fund all the units that support distant students. That way, they get funding from us. We have positions that understand that they're being funded by us, and quite frankly, then we can demand for perform for our students because we're paying for it. The last 3 years around an industry strategy concept called the customer experience statement. And we, as I've said before, we've rooted ourselves in our land-grant heritage, but our job in terms of what everybody comes to work every day to do, to cultivate relationships with students that can't come to our campus and help them understand they're part of a bigger community, advocate for them. And most of you on campuses understand it's very hard to advocate for yourself if you're not on campus walking into people's offices. We do what we can to advocate for the distant student across services, but most importantly, we try to empower them. We understand that the distant student is probably a professional with a job and a family and all the complexity of life. And it's very hard for them to figure out how to manage our mysterious system to get from point A to point B to its school. The whole process of being a successful graduate student is dependent on something called the G6. And not anybody ever called it as a GS6. And if you succeed in getting all the way through your GS6, you get to fill out a GS25. But a GS25 has to be personally signed by all your faculty members, and you have to get around campus and get advisors. So that's an example of where we say, forget about the GS6 for GS25. You have an advisor in our office that will work with your committee if there's a committee involved in the distance program. We get you your written contract to graduate as a master's student, which is a GS6. And when you leave for graduation, we'll carry your form around campus for you and get signed by everybody. One of the very hard for our kids to understand, and I think they're finally coming around to, is that the division of continuing ed, a student is a customer. Very clearly to the student and to the campus that it's our job to understand them as a customer and make sure we're packaging, selling, supporting, encouraging them the way we would a customer. We all very much honoring that to the departments and to the academy, students have to be students. There's a role here around discipline and grading and assessment that's different than what you would do with a customer, and we can't let the customer relationship interfere with that. And in fact, in many cases, we found they're better separated, and we do the customer support role, and Academy does the student support role. And as part of what we're trying to do is train the campus to understand that with average student on a major research campus today spending about 14 hours a week in class and 14 hours a week working on schoolwork outside of class, it's 28 out of 168 hours in a week. So people running around your campus who are customers the other 130 hours. We'd love if they're spending a higher percentage of that on academic work, but the that have come recently nationally suggest they don't. And so they think the academy needs to learn to treat students as customers when they're not in their student learning role. To this off, we set a handful of strategic priorities 3 years ago. One is to build much more trusting relationships with the deans, department heads, and faculty. I suspect many of you in distance endure. The faculty are very suspicious. Departments are very suspicious. Deans are uncertain and worried about both faculty time allocation, development in teaching at a distance, and impact it have on research and other academic work. And we went out and we built what we call a program director organization, whose job is to work all the time with the supply side, simplify, streamline, teach, train, control, support, and for those of you in CEDD, there's an amount of sucking up you have to do to faculty to get support. They have a very specialized role. They're world-leaders in their field, and teaching distance isn't what they've spent their entire career preparing to do. Then we are very hard at the demand side. One of the consequences of deciding to be CSU at a distance is we can't go out and do market research on what degree needed and bring it up into the market. That's a 7-year thought. So instead, what we try to do is understand market needs that our degree programs already align to, things that are already aligned with our brand positioning in Colorado in particular, but around the world, and can market and advertise effectively with our based advertising. And then students into our customer relationship management system and really understand them throughout, not just the demand needs to get them to purchase, but the needs as they go through the success cycle and graduate or complete a certificate, or if their goal is to take one course to succeed at that course. Part of it was an innovation and operating focus. This is very much building an innovative type business model where people have time to figure out not only how to do what needs to be done, but how to do it better and how to do it sustainably at scale. And so fund course development, we fund academic quality assurance, we experiment with new tools, methods. We're up our first MOOC right now, massively online free course. And in that, we try to deliver predictable financial results back to the academy so they can count on the money coming from here and the support coming from here. 6 macro-level metrics of success. Last distance student experience. I would say 50% of our courses are approaching that level. It sounds embarrassing that it's only 50%. 3 years ago, it was only 5%. So we can only convert 75 courses a year right now with our capacity to take them what we think are really world-class active mastery. And so long path. And sometimes we go back to departments and encourage them to close a program because the path is too long to get to a really good distance learning experience. Responsibly. So I came in here saying I wanted to grow 50% every year. The academy actually wanted us to slow down. So we've been growing closer to 20% a year. And part of it is staying within our public mandate related to quality and access and call points. So we continue to grow about 20% a year. The trusting relationship we have with departments, we dramatically over time moved all of our financial relationships to the department level and away from the faculty level, consistent with the earlier theme of CSU at a distance. You've heard talk about innovating and sharing what we know and covering all our campus costs. We also fund new program development. So if a campus program wants to go at a distance and the market support doing it, we'll cover 100% of that cost. Faculty buyout time, course development time, technology course implementation time, upfront marketing, academic approval time costs, the whole gambit. We do all of this because we have a winning business model. And I've been talking with some of you at the University of Wisconsin Stout, and Connie on the call here. I think this business model is very lucky to have it, and it's turned out to be an incredible key in our ability to get things done. And that's because all of the revenue comes to us first. We try to give the university an overhead of 10%, and recently translated that university overhead of 10% into direct payment of all the campus costs. So we've turned that from a tax into a strategic budget line item. Try to run our operation on 20% of the total revenue that comes in, and of the remaining 90%, so 100% of revenue less the CSU 10%, 90% that remains, 65% or about 57% of total revenue goes to the departments, and then the departments decide whether to pay faculty in load, pay them up pay, do with grad students, do with jobs. Again, back to CSU at a distance, we wanted the teaching faculty decision to be made by the departments, consistent with their overall departmental management, particularly as it relates to our enormous research base. If you look on the website, you'll see we have a significant number of programs of our College of Engineering, where our College of Engineering was the single most productive group of researchers in the entire world in terms of dollars per tenure track faculty. They did $67 million of research. So the dean legitimately says, I don't want one of my research faculty committed to distance unless their department is absolutely sure that's the best use of their time. Any surpluses that remain, we fund innovation, new programs, improvement of existing courses and programs, and new classrooms, technology, methods, whatever it may be. This time to take a quick break if anybody has any specific questions, because I'm going to switch gears now to a more operating view of things. Something up in the chat box, so we'll keep going. Creation and capture. How do we do this? A few years ago, we articulated that if we successfully manage the customer life cycle and it could have strong leadership and management alignment, with an emphasis on the word alignment there, and we mastered the delivery of the services, student support and course delivery, and had an engaged campus, we could make things really successful for the distance student in the center. And that's the philosophy of how we manage today. Delivery services, there's a mix of things in there. One is brand relevance, to actually understand what our brand means and who we are. Numbers on students in just a minute. We had 10,500 total distance students last year, of which 5,300 were degree-seeking students in one form or another. Of 2,000 were actually from our campus, and the remainder were pure distance degree-seeking students. So about 3,000 pure degree distance students, and we consider that our core market. Program communications and advertising. Can we actually execute a market strategy that brings the right number of students to the right programs cost effectively? I'll talk a little bit more about how we do marketing in a minute, but we know the cost per SAD of every student in every program and in every class. Is that to try to optimize our marketing spend on a monthly basis. Optimize the learning experience, and teaching methods and delivery. So we have a mix of active mastery online programs. Our dominant share of programs are what we call lecture capture. We try very hard to invest with the colleges to enhance lecture capture with more online tools, because we think lecture capture alone is enough quality. But we concluded that the path to successful active mastery online learning for university at least appears to run through lecture capture. So we're trying to use lecture capture as a way to train the faculty on how to do it better overall. We're leading edge, but not bleeding edge. So we take a lot of looks at best practices, slowly bring up what seems to be working, and we're pretty persnickety about scalability. So we've done a bunch of stuff with Adobe Connect, and we're stuck with that in some programs, but Connect does not scale the way we want it to do. Program priorities. Every year we take every program and we map it out in terms of growth potential and in terms of flow or revenue plus potential, and in terms of our potential to influence either of those with increased investment. And when we our programs or potential new programs where additional investment could move them on that matrix, that's when we go make an investment. Really getting sophisticated at student customer lifecycle management. We implemented a CRM system 3 years ago, and we were starting to know how to do it. We physically mapped every customer touch point a customer has to go through as a student to succeed at a program. And some of you won't be surprised to learn that for a student to go through 10 courses and graduate with their graduate degree without ever coming to campus, they will interact with 134 different people as the minimum in order to see at touch points. And so we were both trying to train those 134 people to be supportive or take the role away from them and bring them back into our recruiting and retention group so we can handle it. It is dizzyingly complex for a distant student to try to figure out why they have to talk to more than 100 different people to succeed in taking 10 courses. It's very confusing, but that is the way a major research university runs. We built a pretty significant recruiting unit, very good recruiters, but we need to have specifications of how much time on the phone with a person or anything beyond 3 contacts. So we're still very much the soft sell. We're the university, and we take the attitude that our job is not to sell you the next course, but to make sure you're succeeding at your goal. And we often recommend people to other universities when we don't have the course you want. And I see Jane asking here, do you have lecture capture during sync class? And John, I hope you don't mind if I jump in on a few of these as we go. Yes, we do in a couple cases. It's very hard to manage, and that's what's hard to scale. Use Adobe Connect, you can get about 15 synchronous active participants, and then you have to bring up a second Adobe Connect session. But we haven't found anybody that does it better than that. We've played with all of the options, so now we try to keep synchronous connecting all level. Next fall, we're going to launch a massive version of it with up to 1,000 synchronous participants, and we're scared. We are doing more and more retention analytic works, and we are just hiring our first battery of retention specialists. We'll do both statistical calling out based on people's login patterns and performance patterns, as well as doing the general follow-up of if you enrolled in these courses but didn't enroll in the next one. Did you mean to? Can we help you? And we also build what we call a certificate tracking system. We can now do a database analytic against every distance student we've ever had and find out if they have courses that would count to a certificate that's emerged. And then we can call them back and say, you have 2 courses that would count you towards this certificate. Do you want to take the third? Organizational leadership management structure, communication, lots of staff development. One of those that was terribly underfunded by the university before I got here was professional development opportunities. I created a sizable professional development from which we send people to conferences, training. Behaviors to create and drive efficient and effective. We've built standard processes and documented them. We have metrics around them. What we're looking for now is better connection of those, the cross-unit cooperation. And we leave campus this year, which meant buying our own building. Was purpose rebuild it. Actually design the floor plan of the building so that the units that have to interact with each other walk past each other, going to the men's room and the coffee. Strategy and a whole bunch of financial tools that let us do management decision making on an ongoing basis. We can view the break-even enrollments and the marginal and fully loaded break-even enrollment every course, every program, every semester. And then engagement. We've gotten much more involved in the last year or two in ESU policy. This year, for the first time, we were invited in to help write the curriculum policies and procedure handbook, related faculty manual component to make sure they better support distant students. That's a big boom for us. Pull up for just a second and make sure what it is. All right. To do it, we've got an organizational structure of 5 units. So we have a marketing unit, a recruiting and retention, a program operations, finance and control, and administration and compliance, which includes HLC compliance. To give you an idea of what we do in the marketing side, they take input from faculty in the program operations, and they produce an annual marketing plan based on expected yields and growth rates for every program. Out of marketing plans, last year we ran 2,200 campaigns and about $1.5 million on that. And right now, or last year, we generated 750,000 unique visitors to our website. And right now, we're running about 50,000 unique new visitors to the website per month. And that rates about 5,000 new students per year. And we're to measure the yield by campaigns so that we can go back and say what worked, what didn't work, how do we tune it, how do we cross-learn. So every month we go back through a campaign that was active the month before and look at a yield metric and try to optimize, and it's working quite well. The group, we have an enrollment services group that includes the front desk. Enrollment services is more of a technical group. They solve technical problems for students about how they get logged in, how they make it work, how they register it. They set up the online classes in the learning management system. Have a graduate recruiting and retention set of pairs of people, and so we have paired together student engagement and student retention coordinators that have related programs. And at the graduate level, most graduate students get handed over from the student engagement coordinator to the retention coordinator after their second course. The undergraduate degree completion, it has a third component to that, which is the pre-admissions advisor, somebody that can look at the transcripts, evaluate transcripts and grades, and try to help determine what path would help this person be successful. A lot of people coming back to a SU-type school after 10 years out of school need to be coached into some catch-up courses, particularly in math and science. And in many cases, we simply say, you're not going to be admissible here. And to your question, these are all teams that work in OnlinePlus. Excuse me. Recruiting and retention hierarchy. And the hierarchy is meant to recognize the science. So they look at data all the way from potentials, students that are getting to the alumni cycle, and the little triangles there are the measurement points. But we all understand in managing and recruiting retention to be successful, it's in the art. And it's art of being aware of the person and their needs. And so with the statistics and with people who are focused on the art of helping keep customers happy, we're doing a pretty good job. Ask me in 2 years if I'm willing to say I can prove we're doing a good job. Programs, the departmental and faculty relationships we talked about are here. Our program management system, where we know where every program and every course is here. Our contract back to the development organization that we house on campus lies here. These people are responsible for delivering both marketing and recruiting and the knowledge they need to be successful. They manage all the classroom technologies, and they also do our ITIS and website. If you go to our website now, we just relaunched it. We relaunch it every 2 years. We website about every 2 years. Changed this year over prior years. We did a systematic study of how people interacted with the website and how that related to behaviors, just signing up for email, going to the next page, inquiring, calling. I designed the website to put the behavioral engagement entities where people were looking. So we greatly de-emphasized information this time and went generating behavior. We have a sophisticated control system because I believe in that. We're a public entity. On top of that control system, we built an activity-based costing model with allocation formulas that we've tested so that we can then determine the profit and loss of every single thing we do. On top of that modeling, we have management tools that lets us quickly do economic analysis of upgrading programs or bringing up new programs and use that internally and to advise units on campus of whether what they're proposing makes sense. So we have a person who's responsible for all our sites. The 3 big ones are listed here, or 4 big ones. They all have all of the internal support to our units. And we just brought up under that proctoring, to administer proctoring for the whole university. And we have relationships across the country, and we proctor here, and we have Proctor U as a vendor for online proctoring. Also does all of the memorandums of understanding with all of the units on campus. And then the compliance side of it with Higher Learning Commission, and we're about to do our 2014 10-year review. So way into that. It's a big activity right now. We have the Department of Higher Education compliance rules, and we actively went ahead and registered in every multi-states in the country. With the uncertainty of what's going to happen there, we decided, since we have students in every state, we typically go through the process in every state. So right now we have filed with our state in the country. System with an aligned set of goals, and starting 2 years ago, we had a written performance management system for every employee in the unit that has the exact same vision, mission, drivers, and then each lead functional leader translates that into what it means for their people. To give you an idea, in the last 3 years, we went from 3,500 to 10,500 students. Our corporate degree seeking students from just under 1,000 to over 2,500. Our credit students from under 2,000 to almost 6,000 right now this fall. And we went from having 10 consecutive years of losing money to accumulating $8 million reserves. And here we sent almost $25 million back to our campus. Pretty happy with us. And a great team that does it. This is team. And we'll turn it over to questions. I know there's a group in here, the scientific bend, and so I can talk if you want about STEM education and online and labs. What questions do you have? John, on whether we use outside vendors to develop courses. Yeah, we do. An experiment right now. It does 2 things for us. One, it lets us study vendor best practices that we can bring back to our own development group. But it also lets us do one-off special things. So the MOOC building will be by an outside vendor, not by us, because now we're very, very we're adjuncts and regular faculty as subject matter experts all the time. They're almost always internal or selected by the department. Continuing ed itself doesn't go out and hire any subject matter experts or adjunct faculty related to a course's subject. This is where we try to draw the academic line. We expect the curriculum, the material, the flow, the assessments, all to come from faculty. What we'll help them with is how do you package that so you have equivalent learning outcomes and equivalent or better quality at distance delivery. Leader on tuition. Yes, there is a difference. Right now, in terms of undergraduate, we are slightly cheaper than campus. Our pricing model has historically been campus state-approved tuition minus state aid that the student gets directly plus 10%. Campus implemented a differential tuition that was approved by the legislature after we set all our pricing. Right now, we're actually about 10% cheaper than campus undergraduate. In addition to being 10% cheaper undergraduate, we also only have one price. That's anywhere in the world you get our in-state undergraduate pricing. We have authority to price to the market. In person on campus falls under state-approved tuition rates. We tend for graduate to vary between about 425 a credit hour and 500 in state, depending on the cost of delivery. So the science programs are more expensive. We actually price to market, but our market is we identify for every program every year those schools that we as the business partner think are the competitive set, those which the department think are the competitive set, and have our quote designated objective third party rank them all in terms of student perceived quality. And that's the horizontal axis. On the vertical axis, we put cost per credit hour and total cost of the program. And then map our goals onto that, circle around it, ask the tuition of everybody in the circle, and try to place at or below the average. And that's just one price anywhere in the world, no in-state or out-of-state. We do not deliver the science labs ourselves. We treat the science labs like a textbook. So in our College of Natural Sciences, we have finally, after 3 years, gotten going with two companies that both happen to be in Denver, Science Labs, and I'm writing the other one. What they do is they work out a science lab kit that is appropriate to their course with that vendor, who then packages that lab kit, and we assign it as a textbook, and they have to go purchase it. For the past couple of years, we've had departments making and mailing their own kits. We hate that here because the risk of mailing something that is illegal to mail in the post office is high, and liability, should they hurt themselves with your lab, comes straight back to the institution. The labs are much better done by professional lab companies who know what they can mail, manage the kits, manage instructions on the use of the kit, and are first line for liability if something goes wrong. Few e-textbooks. E-books is something I'm very enthusiastic about. We've tested it. We joined the internet to e-textbook testing. The reason we use very few is because traditional faculty are still using very few, and we don't tell faculty what books to use. Instead, when we're developing an online course, we teach the faculty about it. We teach them about the tools that are built into the materials. We think for a student, e-textbooks are a superior product, mostly because they're less expensive. We use more of them, but we don't. Do the seeking students apply for and receive federal financial aid? Yes, absolutely. We offer the exact same financial aid support for distance students that we do for campus students, with one exception. The institutional aid components that we put together on campus that are funded by holdback on state-supported tuition, and therefore, quote, dollars from a state funding perspective, a distance student cannot get those dollars because that would look like us as a cash-funded unit getting state money, which is an illegal subsidy in how we do our league structure here in Colorado. So we do that. Issues with online testing, we actually had very few issues, and it's surprising because we have thousands of students. We've not seen any systematic pattern of cheating or scandal that looks any worse than what we see on campus. Some of our faculty require a very significant validation and verification ability. We have a biomedical sciences set of undergraduate courses that are specifically designed for people who are trying to get into med school and vet school. And we have a unique set of students that come take those from us in particular to try to get into our vet school, which is one of the top 2 or 3 in the country. And for those courses, we actually have to do identity validation on an ongoing basis, and so we use a more sophisticated system. Many of those students choose to take their tests in person, and so we set it up with a testing center with proper controls for them, and that's become more prevalent is why we brought that up as a service capability. OnlinePlus. Online testing, we don't know cheating. We do have one of the plagiarism services built into our learning management system, so every faculty member can use it on every paper if they want. For an online graduate program, there's still ways. We have some of our programs still require the GRE or the MAT, and that's a little bit of an indicator, but not much for an adult student. What we encourage people who aren't sure to do is take a course. And they're there, and we will talk with them, and the departments tend to talk with them. The faculty will get engaged in doing this and help assess their readiness. And in many times, particularly if you're coming into natural sciences or an engineering, we'll say, come take these 2 undergraduate science and engineering classes and see how you do, and it will also refresh you. What tends to really hurt people who come back and try to do a graduate level science or engineering is they probably are smart enough and capable enough to do it, but their ready access knowledge is too old. They can't bring up the triangle rule as fast as they need to get through all the work. It's a combination of criteria. It's actually different for each of our 27 graduate programs. But general at our end, support, openness, prove your way in. At SU, you must pass, you must be admitted through the normal campus admissions processes to get in. A PAT online readiness assessment for students. We have none that. We do have an online orientation, both of the learning management system and about the school. Our assessment of it is it's not nearly good enough. It's something over next year we're going to be working. CEDD actually has a wonderful system. If you want to go see who does online readiness and support orientation in particular, and they have phenomenal orientation both for students coming to the online world and for faculty coming into the online world. I don't have a clock on my, I want to make sure, okay, we're doing okay on time. The difference between OnlinePlus and Global. 5, 6, 7 years ago, I can't even remember now, I was reading the Moral Act that formed the land grant schools, and particularly reading it and rereading the section about who schools were created to serve. Because at that time in the 60s, we had very rapid industrialization of agriculture, migration of agrarian employees to cities going into an industrial workforce, and Morrill basically concluded that we needed what we now call a knowledge-based economy, and a lot more people needed to go to higher ed, and higher ed was only available to the elite. So I hired to create actual higher ed for the rest of the people. And I was at SU, and I said, wonderful job at that for 100 years, and then we became a Carnegie One research university. Are we doing that very well anymore? And in particular, are we doing well anymore in a demographic that tend to go out and work and figure out college later? We look campus, and 50% of the students on our campus are over 22. Those are really traditional students. Look at distance. Our average age is 36. So I have a question. If you're going to build an entire university for land grant accessibility from scratch, an environment with no state support, what would you do? That is, you build a 100% online university from scratch as a public entity, running nonprofit, with it being significantly better than Phoenix at half the price. And so we plan to our board and invest $12 million to go to CSU Global Campus. Constructed the entire thing, got it approved in Legend in Colorado, a standalone university. Took it through independent accreditation with the Higher Learning Commission, and months from first funding to first class. World record pace. I brought in one of my entrepreneurship startup teams. We combined with an academic team along with a real operations-oriented team, and the three of us set up simply got the thing going. It hit 1,000 students in 9 months after the first class with 7-degree progress. They started their 4th fall right now. At their fall, they have 6,000 students, 14-degree programs, have back 100% of the $12 million loan, and will spin off $15 million of free cash to the system this year. I have substantially higher quality than Phoenix in terms of learning outcomes. Different from our campus in that our campus is the niche programs from Grant Research Campus made available to set a distance. Campus is large-scale master teacher model, great curriculum that's constantly updated, but a faculty member can't change it. They have to teach it. So it's taught by professional teachers against a professionally designed curriculum. What you get from that is a very, very high average learning outcome. What you get from that is what we do on campus, which is the extraordinary things happen when you put research faculty together with smart people. And so we get a different type of student. We do Global's undergrad students. 90% of them would not be admissible in the campus. Say they're worse students, it says they're different students. Their transcripts are mostly 10 years old or defective. So Global, in fact, serving a completely different market in terms of who they track than we do. And it is confusing. It remains confusing in the market in Colorado. Global's marketing spend right now is about $4 million a year. My is they lift our enrollments through awareness of our brand around Colorado University far more than they cannibalize our potential students. So I think they're almost perfectly aligned. If you're one of my faculty members on the main campus, they would not agree. They think Global's an affront to the CSU brand. The office retention and grad numbers compare to the CSU main. There's no. Not compare, they compare unfavorably. And this is one of the things I've been working on hard on our quality. We had a whole series of programs that have been rolled out by faculty where nobody graduated. We had a lot of people were applying for the degree because it's the only way they could take the handful of courses they wanted for their professional development. Because applied for the degree, they counted in the grad numbers. And so in the most egregious of those cases where nobody had ever graduated, we lobbied for and got the program closed. And actually put the program in business. Now our intent is to help every single student who wants to graduate. We have an infrastructure to help them do that. We think going forward, our graduate numbers will be up there or at the campus, but we're away from having statistics. On the IPEDS question, all of our degree-seeking students are rolled up in the IPEDS data. Our non-degree-seeking students are not. I believe that's the way IPEDS wants it counted. Question from John on campus programs decline to offer courses and degrees. Absolutely. We have some programs that philosophically think online is wrong and have resisted us greatly and have even vetoed programs from other departments in their colleges. This can happen on a faculty-driven campus. So there are any number of programs on campus we would like to have that we can't get. I would, in the last year, substantially lightened. Probably the best indicator of that history in the College of Liberal Arts has been our nastiest antagonist and detractor from online. They actually called up last week and said they'd like helping a history major up online. And I about it. So I think the word is getting out that if you use the right tools and you train your faculty, distance can be very high quality, but in general are still suspicious. On the PowerPoint, yes, I'm happy to share the PowerPoint with people. I'll have to that. Development and incentives and length. There's many pieces to that answer. And for those of you in larger schools, I'm looking at the list of different schools, so most of you will understand this. You can't teach faculty anything. Dad, they're best learners on earth if you can engage them because their profession depends on it. So we do all sorts of basic faculty development training programs, seminars, online support, and I would say all of them fail. It creates a little awareness of it, a little credibility, but what really works is when our development team and our curricular designers sit down with a faculty member and coach, consult with them to to make their course great online. At that point, the faculty for the first time trust that you're not trying to steal their curriculum, you're not stealing their intellectual property, you're not trying to berate them because their syllabus isn't good enough, you're actually a partner. And we make it really clear that our goal is not to tell them what their course should be. Our goal is to help them make their course at least as good at a distance as in the class. And you get them to the point they understand that, and they have a one-on-one coach. And if they want to do video, we bring a video specialist. If they want to do social linking things, so we have specialists in our development group that coach them. Find the best thing with faculty is you do it one-on-one in a highly consultative way. When a faculty member engages in developing a course with them, we give them $3,500 cash as a direct payment through their paycheck. And we so fund 100% of the online development at our Tilt group, which we think averages about $15,000 a course. So we're putting $18,500 into course development on average per course. I think the highest priced one we've done is an engineering course where we put about $3,000 in because of the number of accounts and specialized online lab type things. It was very, very hard to develop. We have an English course that we built that I'd say we probably spent about $8,000 building. It's really very to build an English course. We would like course faculty to get trained in teaching online. We're allowed to do that. Thus far, they're highly resistant to it. Kansas State has succeeded in doing this. I aspire to their model, where in order to be able to teach online, you have to have gone through the online course teaching you how to teach online. We think we'll get that done in the next year or two, but I wouldn't put it to anybody. Because faculty, because they have freedom, have the ability to say no. And particularly in the engineering college, where they are incredibly productive on research, they have no incentive. In fact, they are told by their department heads and their deans not to take this training. You don't have time, work on your next grant instead. And so it's one of the challenges we inherited when we decided to be CSU at a distance. The teach online. Who owns the course? A very, very good question, Jane, on who owns the course. Development with a faculty member and give them the $3,500. We use a memorandum of understanding that has a paragraph in it that says you are releasing the intellectual property of the course to the institution for reuse. And do that specifically because we're paying a lot of money, call it $2,000 for round numbers, to put a course in a package where the intellectual property can be reused. Faculty are mobile. They come and go. They grant and can't teach anymore. So if we're going to make that investment, we have to reassure that we can reuse the course with a different faculty member. And use the course to that. Then if they teach the course, they get paid separately according to what they negotiate with their department head. And across our range of courses, pay for teaching one course varies from about $4,000 to about $10,000. A list of questions?
Oh, Jane, and then have to wrap it up after that.
Okay. Average course size, I'm going to give you multiple answers, which is a horrible thing to do, but it depends how you engineer the course. Our average course size in terms of 100% online courses is probably about 18. We try not to let it get to 30. Sometimes it does. We have a special delivery mechanism in our business MBA, which is lecture capture and asynchronous participation and a certain amount of online content and online engagement. In that program, there is a master teacher teaching for the lecture capture purposes, and then for every student, 40 students, there's a distance section coordinator, and the distance section coordinator handles all the email, grading, and discussion groups for the distance students, and because they're actually doing the teaching, 40-to-1 seems to work. I'm trying to lobby the College of Business to take that to 30-to-1 for student responsiveness, but it has worked really well for them for 10 years.
Okay, well, that's it for the week. Hunt, we'd like to send appreciation for your efforts today and all the information and insight you provided for everyone that participated.
You're really welcome. I hope everybody heard that I'm very much on the public side now. I want all of the major publics to do this really well, because the public good is in all of us doing this really well, as opposed to Phoenix getting bigger and bigger.
Great. Well, thanks again, and hopefully you can join us next week, November 8th, where Mary Lou Forward, the Executive Director of Open Courseware Consortium, will be presenting. And Hunt, certainly come back again and see us and participate. We'd love to.
Thanks for listening and asking great questions.
Participating this week, and we'll see you next week. We're out now.